everyone, hope you're all doing well. My name is Marie and welcome to my channel DIY Montreal. Today is the first video from my shop upgrade series. I recently published a video where I gave you a little tour of my shop and talked about some of the upgrades that I wanted to make. And the first one that I decided to tackle was lighting upgrades. Right now, maybe you're looking at the lighting and thinking it's not bad. I'm actually probably in the best lit area in my shop. My current setup is 4 LED 5000K bulbs that are all focused right above me here, which is usually where my workbench is. But the rest of the shop has a lot of shadows and dark areas, so I really want to address that. And I decided to upgrade to 4-foot tube lights. Now, before making my decision, I did a lot of research, looked into a lot of different considerations when choosing lighting, and I wanted to share with you some of those things to help you make a decision, and I'll tell you what I ended up going with in the end. Alright, so when choosing your lights, I would say there are 3 main factors to consider. At least I did when I was making my decision. Number 1 was type of lighting, fluorescent LED. Number 2 is color temperature, and number 3 is the CRI, which is the color rendering index. So starting with fluorescent versus LED, LEDs are becoming a lot more affordable. Prices are going down, so they're becoming a lot more accessible. That being said, LED lights also have a lot of advantages over fluorescent bulbs. Number 1, they don't flicker, they don't buzz. They have, consistent lighting and you won't get that flickering, especially when you're turning on a fluorescent bulb. Maybe you've noticed it kind of flickers before it warms up progressively. When you turn on an LED light, you get that instant brightness at 100% from the start. Number 2, they consume a lot less electricity. For a 100-watt equivalent, you can have a 38-watt bulb or something like that. So it'll save you money in the long run. And number 3, if you have a really cold shop, let's say in the winter, sometimes fluorescent lights won't turn on if it's really cold, whereas LED lights don't have that problem. They will work even if it's really cold. So given that and the similar price point between the two, going with LED was really an obvious choice for me. Next up is color temperature, and this is how cool or warm the light will appear, and it's measured in Kelvins. So you'll see a number on the box, something like 4000K, 5000K, and it ranges from anywhere from, usually, let's say an incandescent light will be 2700K to 3000K. This is something you'll usually have in a bedroom, in your living room. On the other end of the spectrum, you'll have a much cooler light, something like 5000K up to 6500K. And this is what you'll find in a laundry room, in an office, maybe a hospital. If you've ever found a light that's very, very blue, like so white that it's almost blue, that's probably like a 6500K. Somewhere kind of in the middle, or what I found, which was highly recommended for woodworkers, is 5000K. And this is the most, I would say, close to daylight, as they call those, daylight bulbs, you can find. I did, however, also find a few outliers that recommended more of a 4000K for woodworking. It's a little warmer, a little more yellow, not as blue as I would say 5000K, and this really depends on the person though. Currently I have 5000K bulbs, and while the lighting is really great, I find especially for video that some of the colors get washed out. It's a little on the blue side. So this time around, I spent a lot of time deciding between 4000 and 5000K. It's not a big difference, but in the end, I went with the 4000K, and we'll see how that turns out. I hope I won't regret it. But the great thing about the light fixtures that I did choose, and I'll show you those in a minute and link them up down below, but they're available in both the 4000 or the 5000K, so you can decide what's best for you. Alright, the next important consideration is the CRI, which is the color rendering index. Now this is a number from 0 to 100, and what this actually represents is how accurately the lighting will allow you to see colors accurately. Closer the number is to 100, the better it is. So ideally you want to aim for a really high number. The highest I found was 92 to 95 on the CRI index, so you kind of want to aim for that. That's what I wanted to get. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find anything available to me locally in that, or in my price range at least, that had that high of a CRI. So the one I actually ended up getting had an 84 CRI, which is good, but not ideal. So like I said, if you can find anything like 92 or 95, that would be the ideal scenario. And by the way, if you're shopping on Amazon, you might notice that a lot of the lights that you look at, they don't actually list the CRI. So what you can do is either go on the manufacturer's website, sometimes they'll have it listed there, and if you can't find it, probably best to stay away from those lights. Alright, so after figuring out that I wanted 4-foot LED fixtures with a 4000K color temperature and the highest CRI I could find, the next thing to figure out or decide on was the actual electrical installation. Now, a lot of lights you'll need to hardwire, and others are plug-in types. I definitely wanted to go with the plug-in type just to make things a lot easier and I don't have to do any electrical work. So that was an important consideration for me. But the other thing, a next step up from that, is you can actually get light fixtures that are linkable. That means you can plug them in and link them together with a power cord that's supplied. And this is really amazing because this allows you to do what's called daisy chaining, which means you connect one fixture to another, and that's how the power gets into it essentially. So you only have to plug in one of the light fixtures, and then all the others basically feed off the previous one in a chain like that. Alright, so with all that in mind, I did some research, and the best option for lighting that I could come up with, at least for me in Canada, were these Hyper Icon, I believe you pronounce that, Hyper Icon shop lights. Like I said, they are 4000K, but you can get them in the 5000K as well. And these are essentially 4-foot LED tubes. 38 watts for a 100 watt equivalent, and they are plug-in, linkable. You can daisy chain them, 2 bulbs per fixture with a CRI of 84. Although it says 82 on the box, it said 84 on the website. So last but not least, but probably one of the more important decisions, is how many light fixtures will you need to light your shop? And this is where lumens come in. The lumen output of a fixture is how bright the light will be. So the more lumens you have in your space, the brighter the room will seem. The recommendations that I found start at 70 lumens per square foot for a mechanics or woodworking shop and range anywhere up to 100 lumens per square foot. And I think that's assuming an 8-foot ceiling height. I got a 4-pack of these lights that are 4,000 lumens per fixture, which gives me a total of 16,000 lumens. Given that I have 192 square feet, that works out to 83 lumens per square foot, which is right in that range between 70 and 100 lumens. So I'm going to start with that, see how that works out, and worst case, I can always add a fixture or two down the road. I'm going to use the existing wiring that's already in place for my lighting installation. The wiring for my lighting hasn't been upgraded. It's old cloth wiring which only has 2 wires with no ground wire. Since there's no ground, I don't want to use a regular 3-prong outlet since there's a risk someone might plug something in there that requires a ground, and that could be dangerous. There are 2 options when you only have 2 wires. You can either install a GFCI outlet or install a 2-prong outlet. I decided to try and do as much as I could that didn't involve electricity, like installing the new outlet box and hanging the lights, and hold off as long as I could before switching off the breaker, so I could have some light to work with. In order to figure out where I would position each of the light fixtures, I started out by making a sketch of my shop's ceiling, including all the potential obstacles. As you can see here, these little light brown lines are actually wood studs in the ceiling. The rest of my ceiling is a concrete ceiling. I also have a steel I-beam, a heater, my garage door, and there are also some concrete columns throughout the shop. So once I had that layout, I did a bit of research looking for something as close to a formula as I could find, and I did come across one, and this is an article that's from Wood Magazine, and I'll link that up below if you're interested. But essentially there is a formula, and it goes something like this. You'll need to figure out 3 measurements, which are A, B, C, and to do this you need the dimensions of your shop, length, width, and also the ceiling height, and you'll need the height of your main work surfaces. So in my case, table saw and workbench are about 34 inches off the ground, and my ceiling height is 99 inches. So therefore, you do A equals 99 minus 34, which gives you 65 inches or 5 foot 5 inches. So that's the distance between your fixtures and your work surfaces. Then you can figure out B, and this will be the distance between each of the light fixtures. And it should be ideally the same as A or up to 1.5 times A. So given that A was 5 foot 5 inches, B should be no more than 8 feet. So anywhere from 5.5 to 8 feet. Obviously closer together is better, but you can go a little bigger if you need to. The last measurement is C, which is the distance between a fixture and the wall, and this should be no more than 1/3 to 1/2 of B. I decided to go with B being 6 feet, which is close together as far as the formula goes, which is good in my opinion. So with a B of 6 feet, C should be 2 to 3 feet, so no more than 3 feet from any wall. And these formulas, just for your information, assumes that you're putting all the light fixtures end to end. So anytime you have a row, if you have one row or two rows or whatever, the light fixtures should be end to end. I'm actually not going to do that because that just seems a little insane in terms of number of lights I would need. So I'm going to try and space them out a little more, but just so you know, that's what the formula assumes here. All right, so that being said, this was what I thought of for layout of the shop lights. You can see the 4 lights here, the 4-foot tube lights represented by the yellow squares, and how I came up with that. Basically, like I said, B would be 6 feet apart, and then given the dimension of my shops, that means they would be no more than 3 feet from the wall, which is perfect. And then in terms of spacing, I decided to give a little more space on the left there because I have these wood racks over here and I don't really care to light those up. That's not really important. So I decided to sacrifice that and a little bit to favor the other end. And how I decided here on this 1'9" is I actually decided the closest I can put it with my garage door open and hang it off the ceiling, it would be about 1'9" from this other wall. So that's how I figured that out. I just wanted to put it as close as I could to the right side there, and that left me with 2'9" between those fixtures. So it's almost evenly spaced out. If you did, that's what I would recommend. Try and space them out no more than 2 to 3 feet, although the formula does recommend that you stick them end to end. So that's what I'm going to try. See if this works out nicely, and if it doesn't, then I can always move stuff around and adjust as I go. Installing the lights is actually pretty simple. You can either flush mount them or hang them off some wires, and both those options, they provide the hardware that you need in the kit. I chose to flush mount most of them just because I didn't want them hanging off the ceiling and getting in the way and potentially knocking them with a piece of lumber or something that I'm moving around. So I chose to flush mount most of my fixtures. It's just a couple of screws, and the hardest part was actually getting in those 2 tiny screws. On the other side of my shop where I have concrete ceilings, I had to use my hammer drill to make some holes, and what I did is I attached a block of wood to the ceiling, and then I was able to hang it off of those blocks of wood. And I chose to hang these ones a little lower because I didn't want to get any shadows from my garage door railing there. I thought I might get shadows in my workbench area there against the wall, and I wanted to avoid that. So by hanging it here, I was able to get it close to the rails and the garage door and no shadows. Alright, so I have the fixture to the right of the garage door installed, and now I'm going to go do the one on the left side here. But after giving you all that theory about the ideal positioning of the light fixtures and how I would hang it from here as close to position as I could, I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to do something completely different. And the reason for that is that I have a new addition to the shop. Yes, I've upgraded my table saw, and it's big. I went all in here, and I got the mother of all table saws, at least as far as I'm concerned. I got myself a SawStop Professional 1.75 HP, 36-inch table with the T-Glide fence and the ICS mobile base. And I'm super excited. I haven't even used it yet, but it's all set up and I can't wait to try it out. And yes, it probably cost, you know what? It was an investment, and I've been playing this for a long time. And it probably costs more than I spent on all my tools combined, but you know what? I think given the technology that it has to detect skin and stop the blade in case of an accident, I think that's worth the investment. At least it is to me. So that being said, new table saw in this position is probably where it's going to sit in the shop. So instead of having a light up here on the side that might create a shadow, I think I want to have it positioned above the saw and kind of parallel to this edge here so that I don't get any shadows. So I'm probably going to position it right up here somewhere, kind of in front, to the front side of the table. And yeah, so I'm going to try that. So after temporarily plugging in the light fixtures and checking out the lighting and seeing that I liked everything and it was set up well, I turned off the breaker and then I cut the wire. This was the original wire that was feeding into my lights. So I reused the same wire to feed into my new outlet box. And then I simply wired the socket using the white wire to go to the silver screw and the black wire to the brass screw. I then tucked everything in, closed up the box, and simply plugged in the fixtures. So this is the lighting at night. I wanted to do this at night to take the sun out of the equation. And this is what the original lighting I had in the garage, which was the 4 LED bulbs above the workbench. Alright, and this is the new configuration, the 4 LED tube lights, 16,000 lumens and all, spaced out. And there's my cat. I'm not sure if I made the right decision going with the 4000K. Maybe I should have went with the 5000K. It's a little yellowish, but when I look at the work surfaces, it seems like I'm getting some good lighting and spread evenly across, which is a lot better than what I had before. Alright, this is from the other end of the shop, and this is the new lighting configuration, and this was the old lighting configuration. And this is with all of the lights on, both the new and the old. And now it's super bright, so maybe I should just keep both of them. What do you think? It is pretty bright in here. Maybe I need some sunglasses. So that's it for this shop upgrade video. I hope you liked it. Hope you learned something useful that you'll be able to apply when you upgrade the lighting in your shop. Until next time, see you soon. Thanks for watching. What a dirty cat. Where have you been?